Welcome back to the Hoedown Showdown. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and that was Heartless by Justine Blanchet. So we're sitting here with Justine Blanchet. How's it going today, Justine?
Good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. It's a warm day here in Texas, but it I guess it's summer. That's what I signed up for, right? Oh, so for the people that are just kind of getting to meet you and getting introduced to you for the first time, kind of give a brief overview of who you are and kind of your background in music.
Sure. So I grew up in a family of four kids. I'm the second, and we all learned to play at least one instrument growing up. And we were also homeschooled, so that gave us the opportunity to travel a lot freely. And so my family and I would travel down the eastern United States coast because I'm from Montreal, and so it's right under us. And so those were really, really fun because we got to go all the way to Louisiana, stop in
Nice.
Tennessee. I got to stop in Nashville and play at the Bluebird Cafe and all these things like that. And so those were extraordinary trips that definitely showed us a lot about the world. And now I travel back and forth to Tennessee quite a bit. So
Nice.
definitely helped.
Awesome.
And so I eventually got into singing at the age of 12.
Hmm.
And I actually started in the opera genre, and I was not doing country music at first. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have any Italian roots at all. And so after a while, I was like, this is not me. I feel like a fraud. And it's just like, it's not what I do. It did feel right. So at the time when must have been 15, my singing teacher asked me, she was like, what genre do you love? What do you want to do? So I was like, country music. I love it so much. My mom played it around the house a lot growing up. And you turn on the radio in the United States and most stations are country music. And so, yeah, it's been history since then. Cause then I started writing my own songs at that age and started releasing songs, and that was it.
Awesome. Awesome. So when your mom was playing country music, and who was she playing? Like, who were some of the regulars that were kind of in rotation consistently?
Shania Twain was definitely up there. Reba,
Hmm.
Lady A, back then Lady Antebellum.
Yeah.
And so, so yeah, just so many country icons.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And those were, is it fair to say those are kind of the musicians that helped mold you as a country artist?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, you can still, like, if you hear me perform, and if I'm specifically doing Shania Twain songs, you can hear her influence in my voice already.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. So growing up in Montreal, obviously music was just kind of all around you. And you started in the opera genre. What was it about the opera genre that initially pulled you towards that?
So I don't think it was one specific thing.
Mhm.
I know that at the time I had recently been in the hospital for a burst appendix, and so I
Mm.
was there for about 3 weeks, and it was very life threatening. And so when I left that phase of my life, I guess that little traumatic moment, it was kind of like I want to do something, and I kind of want to, I don't know, just try something.
Mhm.
And at the time, there was this little girl. She was like a year older than me. Um, and she had just won, I believe it was America's Got Talent
Yep.
singing opera, and I was like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I was like, it's got to be easy, right? And so I don't know, it was a, I can't say that it was very well based into the proper technique and all that, which is why, I
Mhm.
mean, like, I was faking my way through it kind of deal. And yeah, it's just, I just wanted to try it. And eventually I was like, well, don't feel like it. And I did a lot of competitions.
Mhm.
And so the kind of people I was around, I was like, they have Italian roots, they have Italian roots.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I got you. And from like listening to you speak about it, it seemed like it was something that you wanted to try, but weren't really passionate about, but you wanted to get into music somehow because that's what you were really passionate about was music.
Definitely. And at that point, I mean, I started playing piano when I was 4. So I was still very much in the music, whether it be singing, whether it be playing any instrument, I was in it
Mhm.
already. So I was like, well, might as well use it. And when I, transitioned to country music, that's when guitar playing came in handy because I had done that already a little bit. And so, and everything I'd learned through playing piano in total, I think I played 13 years
Mhm.
of piano. And so, with all of that knowledge, it culminates to one thing where it helps for songwriting, it helps for all
Yeah.
those things and the theory and everything.
Yeah. I knew there had to be a reason that a lot of musicians, that's like where they start. It's piano.
Yes.
So that or guitar, like those seem to be the pretty two consistent.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
kind of moving towards country, you kind of touched on the transition from opera to country there. When did you start writing your own music? When did you start recording your own music? Was it all around the same time or?
I'd have to say it's kind of gradual because even when I was playing piano, I was still writing music. I just wasn't writing lyrics.
Mm,
And so that was always my thing, and I was always very focused on melody and loving creating melodies and creating things out of thin air. They're just original, right?
mhm,
And so when I changed to country music, the writing happened very, very soon after. I'd have to say within that same year.
mhm.
So yeah, when I was 15, I made that change and started writing. And so gradually the song releasing and recording part of it also kind of just happened all at once. And it was this thing where I wrote a song and I was like, that's good enough, let's go record it. And now I'm like, that was awful, I should not have done that. Like who let me walk into a studio like that? But anyways, it's part of development, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely growing.
Hey, at least you were willing to go in there and take those chances and just kind of get the reps in. I think that's a lot. Like, yes, I understand it's expensive to go into a studio and record music, but you have to get
Mm-hmm.
your reps in somehow. Like,
Oh, for
I,
sure.
there's very few musicians out there that the first song that they released was like the number one gold platinum, like whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that it's very rare that that ever happens. So like just kind of getting those reps in and taking those chances. I applaud you for that. So
Thank you.
so kind of moving. So you're based out of Montreal. How often do you go back and forth to? I'm guessing Nashville. You said Tennessee at the beginning, so but I'm
Yeah,
guessing Nashville.
definitely Nashville.
Oh,
So I go back and forth. I've been going back and forth since 2021, and I've been staying for a few months at a time. And so it's just like a couple months, and then back for a couple months, and then so definitely I don't feel tethered anywhere. It's a
mm,
little bit challenging, but that's
yeah,
okay. And at the time that we're recording this, it's my visa papers have been filed, and so I'm hoping
nice.
to actually make the move and be able to be there for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. There's a lot of musicians that are trying to make that exact move where they're
Mm-hmm.
coming from Canada, UK, Australia, like wherever it
Yeah.
is, and they're trying to make that move, which is really exciting for Nashville because they're going to get a bunch of new. Well, I mean, I guess they're growing leaps and bounds as it is, but
Yes.
just
Uh-huh.
the
It
constant
changes every year.
yeah, with the constant inflow of fresh new faces and fresh new music is really cool. What keeps Nashville
Mm-hmm.
kind of vibrant. Um, so you have a new EP out. Kind of tell us the story of this EP.
Yeah, so this EP I've been working on since I first started traveling to Nashville, so for a whole 2 years. Um and I didn't write any of the songs on this album, but I was definitely able to. I had the last word, of course, on picking the songs. And how it happened is, so when I first started traveling to Nashville, I did not intend on recording. It was kind of like first trip, let's just see what it's like.
Mhm.
And then the opportunity, I guess you could say, came up, and with a producer I already knew. We had talked earlier that year about working together, and I was
Mhm.
just not there yet. But me being in Nashville kind of just fixed that problem for me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm here." So, and it kind of just time wise, it worked out really well. And so, um, essentially we work by batches of 3 songs, and so
Mhm.
we'll source a playlist, and then we'll look for 3 songs in there that we like and love and
Mhm.
everything. And so obviously there's 5 songs on the EP, and so it happened in 2 different batches, 2 different years. um two different years of recording. So 2021 re-recorded Hard to Love, Heartless, and Waste the Weekend. And so those were our three first songs. And I definitely knew that there was going to be a little release cycle, meaning Hard to Love came out first, then we had Heartless, and then the whole EP came. Um, and so that was already pretty set in my mind,
Mhm.
which was very interesting to see happen. And so the following year in 2022, we sourced three more songs, which actually came from the photographer that took all the pictures for the album. She's a songwriter, and Canadian wanted that. And so she was like, "Oh, well, you told me you were looking for for more songs for the EP, so here's a playlist." And so a lot of the songs were really really good on there, and so I struggled at finding the ones I wanted. But we ended up settling on Cheap Sunglasses, Don't Ask Me to Dance, and there was another one that's not on the EP. And so it was just really interesting to see all those songs come together and then being kind of unified, not by accident, but almost by accident, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just because it wasn't like I didn't have a set plan, which I typically do, but
Yeah.
I didn't have a set plan of like I want this kind of song here, this kind of song there. But generally I knew I wanted each song to have its own little flavor and its own
Mhm.
little style, so that it could feel like a salad and not just
Yeah.
like a salad of songs, and not like a whole
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sure you know what I mean.
It's not a single, not you wanted it to feel like a whole salad of songs, not just a carrot, like all the
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
exactly. Or
Okay.
like a vanilla ice cream cone the whole time or
Yeah.
something like that. Like
Yeah.
different flavors.
I gotcha. No worries. Oh, so Don't Ask Me to Dance is the name of the EP. How did you come up with the title for that song or for that
Oh,
EP?
well,
Sorry.
right. So I knew what you meant. It's I did not know the name of the EP or the order of the songs for quite a while. It
Mm-hmm.
was in my head, and I was like, I don't know. I guess I will be inspired one of these days, and it'll make sense, but just, it took a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so the title is also the one of the songs on the
Mm-hmm.
EP. And so when I was going through the list, I knew that Hard to Love and Heartless were already out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I can't name it that. And I would never name an EP I don't know. Like it
Yeah.
sounded weird. And I didn't want to name it my name either. I didn't want
Yeah.
to self-title it. I was like, who does that for a debut EP? Like that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. And then going through the last little bit of songs left, I had Cheap Sunglasses, Don't Ask Me to Dance, or Waste the Weekend. And I was like, phew, I would not name an EP Cheap Sunglasses, so that's out. And at the time I was on the phone with my publicist, and we were kind of just going through that list, and he was like, Don't Ask Me to Dance sounds kind of cool. And I was like, you know what? Yes, it does, because it kind of wraps up everything, and
Mm-hmm.
feels very, very close to who I am as a person and
Mm-hmm.
my personality. So I was like, there we go. I didn't title it my name, but I titled it something very close to myself. So that works for me.
So we were before we played the song, we were talking about the full EP, Don't Ask Me to Dance. How did you choose, or why did you choose Hard to Love to kind of be that first representation of this EP?
That's a great question. I think it came down to a discussion I had with my radio tracker.
Mm,
And so at the time, I had sent him Hard to Love, Heartless, and Waste the Weekend. And I was like, which one should go to radio first? Like, what do you think? And his thought was Hard to Love. And my producer backed it up as well. And he thought Hard to Love was very um, close. It was closer to mainstream country music, and so it was a good introduction rather than hit radios with Heartless, for example. That's a
mm,
little bit different from what you typically hear, and
yeah,
so that made sense to me, mostly because my previous any releases they had done before Hard to Love went back to like early 2021. So I'd taken over a year off of
yeah,
releasing anything. So I was like, okay, that makes sense to release something that's a little
yeah.
closer to mainstream as a reintroduction.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you brought up that the year the year break from releasing music.
Mm-hmm.
Was that pandemic related? Was that inspiration related? Or
It was definitely related to inspiration, but
mm,
also because after my previous song, which was it's called "Get Out of the Mud," that one I wrote by myself, and the the reception was really, really good, and I had lots of fun in making that one and music video and everything. But I also knew it was time for a different phase of my life. At that point, I had done 8 singles,
Mm,
two about every year, and so I was like, I need to switch it up. A debut EP needs to hit the streams, and like I'd had many, many comments from people saying like, "Oh, do you have like an EP? And do you have an album that you're selling?" And I'm like, "I got nothing. It's all on Spotify."
mm,
And so, I don't know. It was just time for something different. And so once the EP started getting itself together, which took a while,
mhm.
it made sense to take that break. And I was also advised by my producer that it was okay to take a break and just be like mentally just kind of disappear for a minute.
Yeah,
And then come back with some great material. And so I was like, okay, yeah, makes sense.
yeah, fair enough. I try and do that at least once a year where I'll disappear for like 2 weeks just to kind of disconnect
Mm-hmm.
because the line of work I'm in, I can't disappear for long or else,
Yeah.
it's
Uh-huh.
like, yeah. But so kind of moving forward now that the EP's out, it's doing well. The reception, it seems to be getting very good reception. What's kind of running through your mind as we approach the back half of the summer here?
Well, there's a lot of things. Obviously, there's a lot more coming, more news
Mm,
coming up about this EP and everything. And so I'm really excited to start rolling out that stuff and kind of
mhm.
just um answering what people have been asking me this entire time. And so I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like I can actually give you something now because I have
Fair.
it. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of a relief and it's kind of nice. And so the music video for Cheap Sunglasses is coming out on July 14th. And so
Nice.
that's just as exciting. And obviously there's going to be a bit of a downtime between this EP and everything coming out for this and the next stuff I'm
Mm,
releasing, mostly because I'm planning on moving to Nashville and just lots of things are going to be happening that are not going to be related to releasing things
mhm.
primarily, but it's going to be just the focus is going to shift just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like the rest of the summer is geared towards you putting yourself in a better position to pursue music and make music your full-time career.
Oh, definitely. And, so,
Mm,
and the move to Nashville is exactly that for sure.
mm. Awesome, awesome. So how often are you playing shows right now? Is that something you're doing pretty consistently or what?
So I can't say that there's very many opportunities here in Montreal, and I
Mm,
actually live an hour north of Montreal, so I'm a little town,
yeah,
and so not many opportunities to play. And I kind of wanted to take this summer to be with my family, go
mm,
see extended family, go do a lot of things, and be with some friends
yeah,
before I move to Nashville and start playing a
yeah,
lot more. And so it was kind of like this quote unquote vacation, but there's still so much happening with this release.
yeah.
So that's kind of my summer right now.
Awesome, awesome. So as we kind of wrap this up, one thing that we do with everybody that comes on the show is we like to pass on knowledge to the younger musicians that are sitting out there. So throughout your entire journey, musical journey, what's something you've learned that you wish you knew when you first got started?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess there's something to be said about patience for sure. Like for a long time. Like I've been doing music going on 10 years now.
Mhm.
So, and that includes the opera years. And so it's just been 10 years of being like, well, I'm doing this and we're kind of just seeing where it's going. We have goals, we have ideas of where we want it to be, but it kind of looks, every year it looks a little bit different to what I
Mm,
thought it was going to be. Some of it is great, some of it is not as great, but it's all about patience and readjusting your goals and expectations based on what's happening around you and obviously chasing goals because you don't want to just be sitting back and waiting for things to happen because that won't happen.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So as we wrap this up, going to Nashville, what's your favorite non-touristy place to go to in Nashville?
Ooh, great question. Oh my goodness. I feel like they're all touristy.
Hey, if it is, that's okay. I usually ask that question because one of my least favorite things to do when I go new places is go to the tourist traps. Like
Right, to look
when I
like a tourist.
yeah, like I want to go to the places that like when I go to the Keys, I don't when I go to the Florida Keys, I don't go to like the touristy places. I'll go to like the local bar and hang out
Hmm.
because it's just
Yeah.
the vibe is different. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nashville has kind of that where restaurants were either country music artists are more
Mm,
known to be
mm,
there, and you're not going to know that unless you've been in Nashville for a little bit and somebody told you.
mhm,
But typically, if it doesn't, like if we're talking scenery wise,
mhm,
I love to go to Leaper's Fork.
mm.
The drive to Leaper's Fork is insane, and it's a little bit south of Nashville, and
Okay.
so it's between Franklin and
Okay.
Nashville. Franklin is gorgeous as well, so you can go to Leaper's Fork and then wind and just finish in Franklin, and that is also kind of touristy, but
Eh,
it's got some cute stores for
yeah.
sure.
Is Leapers Fort, is that in the mountains? Because I feel like I might have been there.
It is not in the mountains. It's
Okay.
kind of just a little town that has a lot of history to it.
Okay.
But the mountains is definitely it's
It's like
more
right up
towards
again.
Knoxville.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Because I used to drive through Nashville all the time. Because so I grew up in Chicago, and then when I
gotcha.
left to go to school, my parents moved to Florida. So whenever we had breaks, I would drive to Florida, and I'd drive through Nashville
Mm,
all the time. And I just remember this one little town buried away in the mountains. And if you hit it just right, it was either if you hit it just right during the sunrise or the sunset, it would just set over the mountains. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my
yeah,
life. So,
yeah. Well, there is the Leapers Fork Bridge, which is
mm,
a very very big bridge, and the sunset there is
mm,
insane. So
okay.
it might
Awesome.
be.
Nice. Um, So for anybody that wants to check out your music, any, just kind of stay up to date with everything that you got going on, where's the best place to find you?
Well, if you want to look me up on social media, my handle is Justine Blanchet Music. But a lot of just if you want information or anything like that or contact info, it'll be on my website, justineblanchet.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Justine, it's been an absolute blast chatting with you. I really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully your trip or your move to Nashville becomes finalized. I know how much of a pain dealing with immigration and
Mhm.
all that stuff it could be. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for tuning in with us, and we'll be right back after this musical break.